Hey guys, my name is Tyrone. These normally start off with a bit of a beatbox, but this grumpy guy over here, Donovan, is sick at the moment, so he's unable to intro us as we normally do. So we're just going to jump directly into this. My name is Tyrone, also known as Odly Otter, and welcome to another traffic talk. Today we are going to be talking about one or two issues depending how much time we have. One is going to be quite controversial, the other one is more of a story time. So let me tell you guys a story of how I actually ended up getting my driver's license. This is a bit of a long story and it's kind of funny, so let me start off as you would normally doing your learners. So I went and did my piece of paper, you write your test, you get all your questions right, whatever. I actually had to do that twice. The first time I did it, no problems, passed, whatever, super excited. I actually did it somewhere in the north because I was at a conference at the time, so I did it in the north, went back to the conference, which is quite cool. And that piece of paper I'm not going to try to remember dates anyway. So I had that. I then started doing some of the the K53 stuff where you go with an instructor. My first instructor was legit crazy. All I remember is a red car. I don't remember the guy's name. Just remember getting in this car and him trying to say, okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to drive you around the area, then you're going to drive, and then we're going to see like where I need to help you. I was like, okay, cool. So he drove, took us up. There was this area where you could basically go around like in a circle without any like issues. I was there with him this is the only lesson I ever had with this guy. I was in the car for 5 minutes. Again, like this is one of the first times I've ever driven a vehicle. I get in the car, I start driving, and he starts yelling at me to change gears. He's like, change him now! What's wrong with you? I was like, whoa, okay, this isn't gonna be pleasant. So he yelled at me a few times, which kind of freaked me out. Obviously I'm still trying to figure out how to do this whole thing. And he threw me off, kind of treated me like rubbish, then was like, okay, hurry up, I need to get to the next thing, so I'm going to take you home, kind of. It was a very unpleasant experience, so I'm not going to go with him again. So I started doing some other lessons, but I mean at this point in my life things were quite busy. I went for my first driver's test. For some funny reason, the instructor that I did all my stuff with said, let's go all the way to Heidelberg to do this exam because you get an easier booking there, it was quicker. So I went through this whole process. Now obviously I've taken time to learn how to drive, I've done all the checks, and I've learned all the like parking things, and I'm like super confident. I'm obviously quite nervous though, because I mean this is the first time I've had to do something like this. I get a lady who comes to do the testing with me. We go to this to the car, do the whole check around the car, no problems. Get in the car, start driving. She says turn here, turn here. Again, I'm nervous, but I'm doing fine, Took one or two corners a little bit harder than I should, and I could see her face kind of like, sure, okay, could have taken it slower, but it's fine, no problems. She hasn't complained yet. And then we go back to where you have to park the car in the parking lot, so that we can go off for us to finish marking the things to see if I'm going to get it. So I'm cool. Okay, we go to the parking space. I turn in, and there's two parking spots, right? There's one in front of me and there's one behind me. So I turn in, I look, and I'm like, okay, no, I'm not going to make it into that one. Remember, this is all still during the test, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to park in the one behind me, because now obviously my reverse parking skills are like pretty decent, because that's all they pretty much make you do when you're trying to do your test. So, and there's a car guard. That's an important point in this story. There's a car guard that's like walking around, with the yellow vest, trying to see if he can help people park. So I start reversing into this thing, and I'm doing very well, and car guard's popped up behind me, and he's like, no, come, and I'm like, cool. I'm going, and I look up, and he's there, and I look to the sides, and he's around, and then I look up, and he's gone, and I'm just about to stop the car, and then I hear this thud, and I'm like, oh, okay, what happened? And the car like jolts. So obviously now there's a wall in this parking lot, which you can see through the rearview mirror, and I thought I was fine, but I hit the wall. Okay, that's a long story short. I hit the wall. There's a security guard, the car guard person just disappeared. So I was like starting to rely on this dude to help me park, and then he was just gone. Because obviously someone wanted to give him money because he was leaving. So that was kind of annoying. And the lady just like kind of shook her head and was like, I'm gonna have to fail you because you hit something. There was no damage to the car, no damage to the wall. It was just like a little touch. I was like, okay. So she went and she did the whole thing. I still had to sit with her, and she's like, listen, because you hit something, I can't pass you. If you hadn't, I would have given you your license because you passed, but because you touched the wall, I can't give it to you. So I was like, okay, that's upsetting. Darn you, car guard person. Obviously my nerves, so I was kind of annoyed. I told my instructor what happened. He was like, okay, no problem. Again, we checked the car, there was no damage. And then he was like, okay, we'll do it again. Now, in this time period of all this happening, my learners were starting to expire. So I think my learners expired then, and I then had to go and renew it, or do it again. So I went and did the theory part of the whole test again, and that took a bit of time, obviously, because like I'm not just sitting at home writing tests, I'm doing other work stuff, studying at the time actually. So I was doing that, and yeah, eventually I had to go for it again. Went to a different place to write it because it was closer. The people that I wrote the test with, one person was like writing the test. This is just a random aside. He decided he was going to write the test twice because he needed one for his motorbike and one for his car, and he failed both. And as they like mark the tests, this is like, I don't know if this is how they do it in most places, but I found it somewhat cruel. They'd write the test, they'd keep going, and then they'd call out your name. And they'd be like, yeah? And you'd like go to the front, it's like, you failed, get out. So you basically just waited, and as they called people up, they were like, you failed, leave. So I'm like sitting there like freaking out because, you know, I don't want to have my name called out. And then they get to like near the, everyone's obviously finished the test and we're waiting for this guy to finish. So he like calls out a whole bunch of names and he calls out mine, and I'm like, he's like, you guys all passed, good job. Go over here and do the rest of the paperwork stuff. That was just a random aside. People are cruel, man. You know, like how do you like yell at someone? Nah, you failed, get out. Anyway, so I go through that whole process. Obviously I basically went wherever I could find a place to do my driver's testing. So we went to another place. I can't even remember where. I think it was in Edenvale, and I failed that one, which was entirely my own fault. I touched a pole during the parking period, which was kind of sucky. But the guy even said to me, like, dude, if you didn't touch the pole, you would have been fine. Like, you should have just stopped and gone back in. You shouldn't have risked it. And I was like, yeah, I know. I'm nervous and I'm stupid. Anyway, let me fast forward to the more interesting part of the story. Eventually get to go do the test again, and I won't say where I did this test, but when I did this test, the first thing that I noticed is the guy that I did the test with was very bubbly. Like, walked in and he was like making jokes and carrying on, and you know when you have to do the check around the vehicle, pre-driving inspection, whatever you want to call it, he's like in the corner having a smoke, talking to someone, and I would like pause and like look at him because he wasn't paying attention to me. He's like, yeah, no, just carry on, whatever, dude, whatever. Eventually we're doing all the parking stuff and parallel park, and he looks at it and he's like, no, you're not in. And now I'm like annoyed because this guy hasn't been paying attention and he's trying to fail me. Like, he literally looked at me, glanced at the car, and was like, no, you failed, you're not in the spot. So I was quite annoyed by that, and so I got out the car and I was like, no, dude, I'm totally in. And he looked at me and he like kind of tried to assess how this conversation was going to go. So he said, come here. And I looked at the line and I'm like, this is my wheel, this is the line, I am inside. You can't fail me for something that's not happening. And he kind of like sighed. He's like, okay, get in the car, let's go for a drive. So we're doing the drive part of the test. The area that I was in had a lot of crazy taxis, which is also important to note. While we're doing this test, taxis cutting in, whatever, we eventually get to a part in this test where you have to go across an intersection. This is like go turn right here kind of thing. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I go through into the intersection, and there are cars flying through, and the robot turns yellow, and the cars keep flying through, and then the taxis keep flying through. So I'm stuck there. The robot turns red because now I can't go when there's other vehicles in the way, and then I'll finish going through the intersection, and this instructor looks at me and goes, "I'm failing you because you were in the intersection when the robot went red." So I said to him, "But there was like taxis and stuff. How did you expect me to get through the intersection when these things are speeding through? Like, I would have caused an accident." He's like, "Are you back chatting me?" And I was like, "Yes, because how did you expect me to go through an intersection when there were cars in the way?" And he's like, then he exploded, and he started yelling at me, and he started swearing at me. He's like, "I know what I'm talking about," and I'm not gonna repeat everything he said, but he basically said, like, "If I want to fail you, I'll fail you. You have no say in anything I say or do. I'm saying you failed to the intersection." I'm like, "No, you're being ridiculous, because there's cars in the way. There would have been an accident, so I have to drive safely." And he kind of like carried on going on at me, and then we went up a road, and he carries on yelling at me, and then he passed a left turn, and he's like, "And I tell you to turn left, you don't even listen to me." And then I stopped, and I looked at him, and I said, "If you told me to turn left, I would have turned left. You haven't. You need to calm down." I was basically like, "You are acting very unreasonable." And he kind of like stopped. He looked at me and he went, "Okay, I'm sorry. Let's calm down here. Let's figure this out. Let's go." And he's like, "Take the next turn." Take the next turn. We go down the road, and there are two metro cops sitting on the side of the road, catching people, obviously speeding. And he sees them, and he goes, this is his words, guys, not mine. "Look at these pigs sitting on the side of the road, not doing anything useful." So he winds down his window. He's like, "Slow down." And he says something in African language that I didn't fully understand. But I didn't understand him swearing at them. After that, he's like, "You beep 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 beep. Go do something useful instead of sitting here. Beep beep beep." And he's like, "Okay, carry on driving." Remember, this is all during my test, so he's swearing at metro cops while I'm supposed to be doing my driver's test, which is crazy. Then we go down the road, and there are people working in a intersection for like they're digging up the road to fix something kind of thing, or retiring a surface. So in the middle of this, well, we're at the intersection. They're on the other side of the intersection doing their thing, and he's like, "Go through the intersection, go to the people." Like, they're in the middle of the road. So he winds down his window again, and he yells at them. He's like, "I have to go through here." They're like, No, you can't go through here. You have to take a right and then come back up." He's like, "I'm in the middle of a test. I cannot deviate from my test. We will go through here." And he has this whole argument with these guys. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to wait until this guy figures out what he wants to do with his life. Okay, this guy says I can go through the robots. He keeps yelling at them. Eventually, he winds down his window. He's like, "Just go through." Now, the robot is red, and he's like, "Just go through, they'll move." I'm like, he's like, "Just go through." So I start edging forward. The robot eventually changes color, because now I'm like, the robot's red, and I'm assuming he's trying to trick me again. And he's like, "Just go through, it's fine, they'll move." So I move forward, and these guys are there, like in the middle of the road. He's like, "Just move. If you go anywhere near them, they'll move." So he basically had me push through this group of guys that were actually working in the road to get through. So eventually I move. He winds down his windows. He yells at them again, and they move out the way, and I go through. So that was my experience. As we go down that road, he eventually looks at me. He's like, "Listen, dude, I can see that you know how to drive a car. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure you pass. Let's go back to the place." So that was my experience. I basically had a crazy guy He swore at Metro cops, swore at me, and swore at people working in the road during my test, and then looked at me and said, don't worry about it, I'm going to pass you. And then he, once we go back to the place, he's like, I'm going to go for a smoke and then we can finish doing this thing. So that was my experience, and that took longer to tell than I thought it would. So yeah, thanks for joining me for traffic talk / story time. And if you had any crazy ways that you got your driver's license, let me know, because those stories could be quite funny to read. You can drop those down in the comments. If you want to talk about other stuff, you can do that in the comments as well. Remember to share this video with your friends so they can also laugh at my wonderful experience of a driver's test that went wrong. And I will see you guys in another video. Like and subscribe and all that jazz. We're at work, so we're gonna go now. Bye.